is Freedom Global News.
Federal government to stop payment of fuel subsidy by the end of June 2023. House of Representatives warns Economic and Financial Crimes Commission against selling assets to looters. Correspondent reports on World Braille Day. And on the foreign scene, Paris says Burkina Faso requests French ambassadors withdraw. Good evening, you listen to Freedom Global News on 99.5 FM. I am Hawa Adam Kiawa. Today is the 4th of January 2023, which is equivalent to the 11th of Jumada Thani, 1444 after Hijri. And now the news in full. The federal government says it will stop the payment of fuel subsidy by the end of June 2023. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this during the public presentation of the 2023 federal government budget. Zainab Ahmed disclosed that in the 2023 fiscal period, the government has made provisions for 3.36 trillion naira for fuel subsidy payment to cover the first 6 months of this year. This, she stated, is in line with the 18-month extension announced in early 2022. Breaking down the budget, the minister noted that the nation's revenue performance as at November 2022 stood at 6.5 trillion naira, representing an 87% of the set target of 7.8 trillion naira for the year. And as analysis of the key contributors to the revenue collection, according to the Minister of Finance and Planning, includes a 586 billion naira collection from the federal government, customs, 15 billion naira, independent revenue collection, 1.3 trillion naira, as well as a 3.7 trillion naira collection from other sources of revenue. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Assessment and Status of All Recovered Loot, Movable and Immovable Assets from 2002 to 2020 by agencies of the federal government of Nigeria for effective, efficient management and utilization has urged the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to prevent looters from recovering their loot in the ongoing auction of seized and forfeited assets. The committee's chairman, Adejoro Adeogun, while noting that his panel had earlier recommended speedy disposal of recovered loot, especially fixed assets, expressed the possibility of looters recovering the forfeited assets by proxy. Adeogun, however, stated that the committee would continue with its investigation despite the sales. The EFCC on December 6, 2022, commenced inspection and auction of 649 forfeited vehicles located across 9 states and the Federal Capital Territory through appointed auctioneers. Other assets listed for auction were 50 vessels and barges in rivers, Delta and Lagos states, about 39 mobile phones, 11 laptops and other devices. Another sporting arena, Sports Writers Association of Nigeria Electoral Committee, SWANECO, released a tentative timetable for the 2023 election into the National Executive Committee of the Sports Writers Association of Nigeria. Mamasan Uba has details of this and other sports updates.
Following the inaugural meeting of the Sport Writers Association of Nigeria National Electoral Committee, SWANECO, on December 17, 2022 in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, the timetable for election into the National Executive Committee of SWAN has been made public. After exhaustive deliberation by the 5-member SWANECO presided by the chairman, Sonny Ogele, it was proposed that the election be held in February 18. Furthermore, Port Harcourt, capital of Rivers State, is the tentative venue for the election, subject to approval and ramification by the outgoing National Executive Committee. Muhammad Masur Ibrahim, a member of the SWANECO, said nomination forms could be purchased from any of the 5 members.
Cost of nomination forms include President, 100,000, Deputy President, 90,000, Vice President, 80,000, Secretary General, 70,000. Deputy Secretary General, 60,000. National Treasurer, 70,000. National Financial Secretary, 60,000. National Welfare Officer, 60,000.
In another update, the Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) has constituted its judicial and match officiating committees, which will be in place for the next 2 years. Respected former FIFA referee Faith Irabo will head the referees committee, while Rabiu Umar will serve as vice president. The match commissioners committee is headed by NFF board Babagana Alkali, with another member of the football house Ganiu Maje Kutumi serving as vice president. Former vice chairman of the Anambra State Football Association, Barrister JBC Obikelu, will run the affairs of the disciplinary committee. The referees and match commissioners committees are scheduled to meet with the NFF tomorrow in Abuja in preparation for the NPFL 2022-2023 season. Meanwhile, Flying Eagles head coach Laden Boso will submit his final squad list of 23 players to the Confederation of African Football on January 20th, ahead of the 2023 Under 20 Cup of Nations scheduled for Egypt. The tournament is built to hold from February 19 to March 11, with 7-time champions Nigeria drawn against host Egypt, Senegal and Mozambique in Group A of the competition. And on tennis, Great Britain are out of the inaugural United Cup after the United States won 4-1 in their city final in Sydney. British number 2 Dan Evans was beaten 3-6. 7-5, 6-3 by Francis Tiafoe, securing the US a place in the semi-finals. Muhammad Sani Uba, Freedom Radio.
The global news is coming to you from Freedom Radio 99.5 FM. You can send your comments, opinions, and watch us live on Freedom Radio Nigeria on Facebook.com. You can get the link to the page on our website, freedomradionig.com, or call us through this number, 082444163. Welcome back. You still listen to Freedom Global News on 99.5 FM. World Braille Day is celebrated on the 4th of January annually in honor of the man behind the invention of the Braille language, Louis Braille. The language is a gift that enlightens millions of blind people or visually impaired across the globe. The day also highlights and raises awareness about giving equal standards of human rights, just like everyone else. Correspondent Safara Otijani Adam takes a look at the importance of the day and files in this report.
In 2018, at a general meeting of the United Nations, they agreed that the 4th of January every year will be the day of remembrance of visual impairment, while the celebration of the day began in 2019. More than 1 million people with disability are less likely to access health care, education, employment, health care sector, and participate in the community. According to reports, they are more likely to live in poverty, a high rate of violence, neglect, and abuse, and are among the marginalized in any crisis. For the visual impairment, life under COVID-19 lockdown was difficult in terms of independence and isolation, especially people to communicate their need and access information. Freedom Radio interviewed some visual impairment residents in Kano on how they use Braille in school and challenges they face.
Braille reading and writing is a method of reading and writing for persons with visual impairment, or popularly called or known as blind. It is through that way that we read and we write. The challenge we do face is that whenever such writing started raising or getting problems, so you may find it difficult to identify what you are choosing. By the time it started getting even proceed. The machines we are using for this kind of writing is very expensive. Therefore, it is barely for us to be able to afford such machines. Rather, we prefer to use the manual way of doing it, which is very taxing and very difficult.
For the new students, that's the French students that are enrolled in the station school. And the problem comes when the parents of those students cannot provide them with the material using or in writing the style of writing, that is the Braille. Because as we all know, Braille is our style of writing of that material, which is called slate and stylus or Braille machine. Somebody cannot be educated or cannot have.
Dr. Bashir Sani, a lecturer at the Sa'adatu Rimi College of Education, Kano, shed more light on how their students use the Braille device.
Braille is a form of medium of communication through which the blind people used to communicate within themselves. It was invented by a person called Louis Braille. He was a blind since he was 3 years. They use dots in writing anything. For example, all that is been written is within the 6 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They use what is called slate and the stylus with a Braille paper. It is very cheap compared to Braille machine. They communicate.
The purpose of World Braille Day is to promote understanding the value of Braille as a communication tool for the blind and partly sighted. Safara Utijan Adam, Freedom Radio.
Azman Air appreciates Saudi Arabia for increasing the number of Nigerian pilgrims to perform the coming 2023 Hajj exercise. The managing director of Azman Airline, Al-Haji Faisal Abdul Manaf, appreciated the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia while speaking to journalists today. Faisal Abdul Manaf said the gesture is worth appreciating and a joy to every Muslim in the country. It can be recalled that on 21st of December 2022, the Hajj and Umrah Commission of the Kingdom, through its director, Bahauddin bin Yusuf Alwani, who announced the increase of the number of Nigerian pilgrims to 95,000. It also lifted the age limit and COVID-19 tests on the intending pilgrims. He said the development is an opportunity for intending pilgrims in the country that are willing to perform the 2023 Hajj exercise, adding that Azman Air is preparing and getting ready to airlift them to the kingdom in good condition, as it is known for. And on business, we have Zara Zanna with updates.
The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, is set to announce new guidelines on cash withdrawals from all government accounts on Thursday, January 5th, 2023. This was contained in a statement on Tuesday night. In December 2022, the NFIU was putting all necessary measures in place to stop cash withdrawals from federal, state, and local government areas' bank accounts. The Director and Chief Executive Officer, NFIU, Modibo Tukur, made this revelation at a parley with the Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, in Abuja. Tukur further stated that most cash withdrawals from government accounts, including payments for ESTA code, are often more than the cash withdrawal limit provided by the Money Laundering Act. Meanwhile, the Nigerian equities market reopened on a brighter note in the first trading day in 2023, as repositioning for the 2022 full-year earnings and dividend declaration continued yesterday. The bullish mood pushed market capitalization to 28 trillion naira. The all-share index of the Nigerian Exchange Limited rose by 344.6 absolute points, representing a gain of 0.67% to close at 51,595.66 points. Accordingly, investors gained 188 billion naira in value as market capitalization went up to 28.103 trillion naira. Zara Zanna, Freedom Radio.
And on the foreign scene, the French Foreign Ministry says it received a letter from the Burkinabe authorities in December requesting the departure of France's ambassador from Burkina Faso. Ismail Suleiman Sani reports.
The French ministry spokeswoman confirmed to Reuters on Tuesday by email that it received such a letter, but declined to give further details or say how it had responded. The Burkinabe government has declined to comment officially on reports it sent this request to Paris last month. The whereabouts and status of French ambassador Luc Hallet could not immediately be confirmed. The embassy in Ouagadougou declined to comment. The apparent explosion signals a further deterioration in relations between Burkina Faso and former colonizer France, which maintains strong ties with other former colonies in West Africa and has special force stationed there. Protests by opponents of Paris military presence surged last year, partly linked to France's perceived inefficiency in tackling armed groups that have separated their sphere of influence in recent years from neighboring Mali. The prolonged insecurity led to political instability and military coups in Mali in August 2020 and May 2021, and in Burkina Faso in January and September 2022. After the second coup in Ouagadougou, the Burkinabe government accused France of supporting topful military leader Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba in planning a counter-offensive. Ismail Suleiman Thani, Freedom Radio.
And with this, we've come to the end of today's global news. But before we go, highlights of the major stories. The federal government said it will stop the payment of fuel subsidy by the end of June 2023.
This is Freedom.
The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Assets and Status urged the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to prevent looters from recovering their loot in the ongoing auction of seized and forfeited effects.
This is Freedom.
World Braille Day, celebrated on the 4th of January annually in honor of the man behind the invention of the Braille language, Louis Braille. On the foreign scene, the French Foreign Ministry says it received a letter from the Burkinabe authorities in December requesting the departure of France's ambassador from Burkina Faso. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Hawa Adam Kiawa. Have a wonderful evening.
Freedom Radio. Clear Jama.